Welcome to another edition of the Let's Talk Music. Richmond, RVA, myself, and my co-host buddy, partner in crime, Mr. Bill McGee is on the line. And in addition to that, we've got special guest this evening, Mr. Robert Everette Kelsaw, the percussionist in the Richmond area at this time, leading the pack. What could we do without rhythm in music?
Because of who we are and where we come from, you know, you got to have the percussion, man. So I'm just great to have Brother Kelsaw on because I know he has a stellar history here in the city of Richmond. He can tell us some things that other people wouldn't remember.
Well, yes, he's probably got a sharper mind than you and I.
Absolutely.
Fortunate enough to come into an era during that time where it was a pleasure just to see, just growing and knowing that it was out there, because the music was within the home, it was in the church, it was in the schools, and in the community. And you gentlemen covered that entire sector. You covered it all. So it was a
well. Since you mentioned that, Mr. Kelsaw, where did you go to school?
I started off at Vanderval Elementary. Then I was fortunate and blessed to go to Virginia Randolph.
All
one
right.
of the last all black schools in Henrico County off of Mountain Road. And when they closed Virginia Randolph, then I went to J.R. Tucker.
Okay. Virginia Randolph is as historic as Maggie Walker Armstrong and Peabody.
No doubt.
In this area. And I mean that.
Yes.
And I was telling them, I don't know if you know this, but I was telling Charles and some of our other guests that Tommy Edwards, who did All in the Game Called Love, was a Virginia Randolph graduate, and he has the honor of being the first black artist to have a #1 hit on the Billboard Top 100.
Yes. I remember meeting him. His song "Ebb the Tide." I remember he was friends with my mother and my aunts, and many a time back then they used to call those evening little sweet swing teas, and he would grace the household with a song.
Oh wow, that's wonderful!
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Everett, I remember you as the little brother of one of the renowned singers in the area. On stage, I saw him many times. Your brother Louis Kelsaw, well
yes,
known.
It was a lot to study, but it was so much out there. You know, I think back to those groups and those periods, and people don't know the exposure and the opportunity and the talent that existed. You know, and the most important thing I think back was the gathering place where you could see 5 or 6 groups play. And I think you recall when I used to talk about Jamaica Country Club, where you guys would come out there. They would start around 12 during the day. They'd have the swimming pool, a black event, and they would have everything set up, and you would have bands, local bands from the area, the top bands in the area, some of the top musicians. And it was an event. I enjoyed it, and people don't know what they're missing when we can't get that nowadays.
We mentioned the Jamaica Country Club in one of our earlier sessions because, again, that's like you said, that was a place where I remember Ujima would have a gig at Jamaica Country Club, like you said, at 3 o'clock, and then they'd have another gig somewhere else, like at 7 o'clock, and then they'd end up down at the Mousetrap at 11 o'clock. I was trying to figure out how much money these guys gonna make. Golly.
Well, we needed the money to pay for the equipment. We were just lucky to be in that position at the time.
I recall seeing Ujima come in with the big box truck, unloading. Right. When it came to the equipment and the sounds, Mr. Man, you know I talk about the first time I heard an ARP synthesizer.
Well, let me tell you how that came about. We were on tour with Chaka Khan in Rufus, and we'd done 4 or 5 dates. And then one night, because they were opening for us for some reason, I don't know why. But anyway, they were the opening act. So anyway, one night we sitting in the dressing room just waiting to go on stage, and we heard this violins on stage. And we ran out the dressing room to see what that was. It was actually violins. I said, they got violin players tonight. That's not, who are they? So we ran out on stage and looked, and the keyboard player was just smiling at me the whole time because now he got an off-string ensemble. And I said, oh no, I got to get one of those. So the next morning, and then he turned around and started playing this mini move thing. I said, oh my goodness, they hit us with this in one night. The next morning, I was at Chuck Levin's place, and by gig time that night, we had one and had Dwight work overtime to try to get everything working so we could make sure we could show up at the same kind of added to our gig, and that's what we did. That's how we ended up with it, because they had it first, and then we went and got it the next day.
But you know, Charles and Everett, a lot of people don't understand this. Historically, Virginia didn't have mixed drinks and law, and had the blue law and everything else. Everybody was forced to have a private club. Private clubs were the only way you could have alcohol. Right. So that everybody know we grew up with people buying chasers and setups. And if you ask somebody right now, what is a setup? They look at you like you're crazy, like a setup. Why would I need
brown bag?
Because you had to bring you had to BYOB.
BYOB. That was it.
And the club made a killing off of setups because you couldn't bring anything but that.
Ice bucket and cups.
Ice bucket and cups.
That touches a nerve. That goes back to the song, the smaller the club, the bigger the party.
Yes, sir. That's right. So what happened was in Richmond in particular, Charles, it dates all the way back to black people who were free before Emancipation Proclamation, who worked on the tobacco docks.
Yeah.
All right. And so those were the freemen. And those people had a different class structure than people who were slaves at the time.
Correct.
And then, so they got jobs as free blacks here in Richmond. And then when the Emancipation Proclamation came in, former slaves got jobs. And then a lot of the clubs here, Brother Kelsaw, were based on where you worked. So everybody knows that the folks at 533 had a little more upper crust going with them. That's why you can look at their membership and know who the 533. The busmen, from wherever I said, were bus drivers.
Right.
Like the military retirees, which is still functioning to this day. But then there was the guys who worked at the post office that had their own club. And I really would like it sometime or another for somebody to do a little history on, the private clubs in Richmond and who were the different factions behind those private clubs.
Right. Trying to recall who the management or who were the owners of those clubs, promoters. That's part of what we are in mission to do. Right. Because memory does not serve me well.
The upstairs at the Ebony Island was private, right?
Yes, it was called the Top Cat. The Top Cat is what it's called.
At the bottom was the Cozy Cat, and up top was the Top Cat.
Top Cat. Right.
And they even had a separate entrance, if I'm not mistaken.
That is true. That is true.
You had the little door, and that door took you up the steps. And
the door was on North Avenue side.
Right. And the other entrance was on in the parking lot side.
In the parking lot, right. Everett, let me ask you, when did you start performing live?
Around 1990. I got into playing salsa. I was playing Latin music.
Okay.
I recall meeting at a gig they had here, a show they had here at Richmond, out near Parker Field. That's what's changed so much are the venues, those places to play. I remember we were talking about locations and areas. There was Ashland and Hanover, Montpelier, the Ranch House, in which each one of those venues, sometimes they even had their own. There was blues or jazz, or honky tonk. You know, people say, "Man, what are they doing playing jazz?" People got an opportunity to explore. I think one of the biggest changes that I found growing up about music in the area were the opportunities that some of the brothers and blacks that had to travel, who were in the military, who got a chance to go to Europe and brought that back.
You started out doing salsa, and you found a lot of reception for that, right?
Yeah, I got into the community because I saw the rhythm, and the salsa community is very guarded about non-Americans or people of not basically of the culture, and to see and to grow. And look, I even learned the language. It's como es Roberto, it's la música. I mean, it's a sign of respect. And music is dancing. With salsa, it's nonstop. But it's still the heritage of black music, of dancing, of the rhythm from the drum, because they love it. The drum is a heartbeat.
It's a heartbeat of that music, no doubt. Believe it or not, Bill, drums and trumpet players.
Oh, yeah.
Percussionists and trumpet players
are
big in salsa music.
I know.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't know this, and I won't get too far off beating with Brother Kelsaw is. A lot of that happened because Caribbean and Hispanic, Latin people, their drums were not taken from them like the English colony did when
with Africans, right?
Because Africans who were imported here to do the work the drums scared the Europeans, whereas a lot of the other people in South America and down, they were either Spanish, they were brought in by Spanish or Portuguese, or people who were so used to being in Africa. See, that's the other thing, is the Portuguese and the Spanish and everything had colonized Africa. And the English, the British, and those people had not as much. Right. So they were not used to the culture as much. You know, so when Africans started communicating with drums, it scared the bejesus out of these folks. Doc Gibbs played on Trussell's album, on our whole album. Matter of fact, he did all the percussion on Love Injection. And Love Injection has a long percussion break. And that's Doc Leonard Gibbs playing percussion on that.
Bill, were you familiar with Washington?
Larry Washington.
Larry, out of Petersburg.
Yeah, I know Larry Washington. I told you that Larry and I talked to Philadelphia. Larry was out of Dinwiddie.
Okay, because he played on our album with Philly International.
Right. Well, Larry was the one that told me he was from Virginia at the time, and I did not know. I was at Philly International, and Larry told me he was from Virginia, and I said, "Well, that's another one of the well-kept secrets."
Yeah, he played.
I guess he never
sessions with Philly. A lot of the sessions with Philly and the MFSB Orchestra, Larry played percussions on a lot of that stuff. A whole lot of prominent musicians came from the Richmond area. Everett, can you name a few? I'm sorry.
Wah.
Yeah, Melvin called me Watson in L.A. Reagan.
Yeah, right.
Melvin Wah.
He used to play a place here in Churchill. In Churchill is a place called Rendezvous East. Yeah, and that's where you would see Jerome Braley on drums. You would see Basie on bass guitar, Basie Saunders, and you would see Melvin Reagan on guitar. The three of them.
Basie, Melvin Reagan, and Jerome are a group of Richmond folk that basically made it what we call to the bigs, and that was the last thing you basically saw of them. They were gone.
Oh yeah.
And of course, Joe was the same way. Major Harris was the same way. And I'm trying to think. Walter Morris and them. Walter, and once they started playing with the Moments, you didn't see them much back at home because they were on the road so much. And when they did come home, it wasn't a weekend, or when you come home and you're out on the road like that, you spend as much time with family as you can. You're not out at clubs hanging out that much, So go ahead.
It's Urban L. Basis Saunders.
Urban L. Basis Saunders. Okay.
Junior. Oh yeah.
I remember watching this group. Now, this is one night, and my brother Lewis used to kind of babysit me, so I used to hang backstage and watch these guys play. But rest in peace, I saw Carlton Ailes. I saw Lil Tommy, Basie Saunders, and my brother Lewis. They played one night down at the Devils. The Devils
Club, that's right.
To show you how long Lewis has been playing, or how long, there's a 17-year difference in age between myself and Lewis.
Oh, wow, okay.
Really?
You mentioned that, Everett, we were supposed to talk to Carlton Ailes, and that's one of the reasons that Charles and I stepped this thing up, because when Charles found out that Carlton had passed, and he had just talked to him about doing something like this, it became evident that, hey, you better hurry up and get it done.
We need to get it going. Yeah.
So we have interviewed Lil Tommy, and of course we missed Basie, and we missed Carlton. So who else did you say was in there? It was Lil Tommy. Oh, Lou. So we got to get Lou, right?
You got to get Lou. And is Tommy still alive? Everett?
Tommy Coleman.
Tommy Coleman, yeah.
Well, we lost Mr. Tommy Coleman back around early 70s. There are some who I know that I hear Lou talk to sometimes, with friends that are still there. I tell you who I miss, and I really love, when you were talking about sound and precision, Carlton Robinson.
Right.
I really liked his towards his sound and what he used to put together. There are some of the guys who are left from, I think, Standing Room Only.
I know that we just recently lost Ernest Walder, the drummer from Standing Room Only. That happened last year, I believe.
Yeah. And there's still some of the guys from those groups. I've had an opportunity to do little events with them. There was Hugo. And
Hugo Jackson
and his brother Philip.
Yeah, but like I said, these you guys were the guys we used to watch. I remember those flatbeds. Once again, up at Jamaica, they would do a flatbed in the middle of the field, and you would have the biggest power sound system. And
right,
I enjoy going to the events, but I look at the schools and some of the players and some of the musicians. Well, Mr. G, this will get to you. I went to Little State.
Oh yeah, well I went to Little State too, bro.
You were big.
My master's is from Little State, and my big degree is from Little State. My little degree is from Big State. Let's put it that way.
So what was Little State? What is Little State?
Norfolk State was an extension of Virginia State University, Virginia State College.
Okay.
Up until the late 60s, I think it was. Norfolk State was a division of Virginia State College.
So they called it Little State.
Well, a lot of people try to call it Little State.
I see.
But what did you major in, Kelsaw?
Following Lewis, I did broadcast and communication. I studied radio. I got into that. And then I went to school here, Richmond Broadcast. Tommy Sposa, I interned at WANT with the people, but I stayed close to music. Because this was always the question. When people found out my name was Kelsaw, the first thing they would, you sing.
Well, it's the same thing I asked you. I said, I saw him on Facebook, Charles, and I said, you wouldn't have to be any kin to the great Louis Kelsaw, would you? That's how he and I talk.
Do you sing? I'll tell you, bro. Your brother made a mark. We need to get him online.
You know, we got some other folks we're trying to catch up with who are in their 80s because we want to get them on record. You know, none of us are promised another day, but hey.
And we're losing people a lot younger than both of us.
That's right.
Yes.
So the clock does tick at a different pace for everybody.
He gives you guys, Mr. G.
Everett, you have always reached out to me and my family. You've always had a high regard for music, and you've always expressed that interest and that love for music. I'm glad if we were any influence on you whatsoever, if we had any contribution to that, your music exposures, I'm glad we were able to do that for you. And because on the other hand, you could have concluded that we didn't sound that great. You know.
Like you made a path, you cleared, you opened a lot of doors, and like I said, you contributed so much to the community and to the school. And look, who couldn't stand up and say, "I don't know what you can do. Let me lay my funk on you."
Look out!
Yeah.
Oh yeah, poison. That was poison.
But Mr. G, you guys were out there. I think about Mr. Debo Dabney. I think about a lot of people that I had the opportunity to say, as young, I got to see them. I got to meet them. For me, my percussion, my greatest influence, they were playing a show at the Coliseum, and I got to meet Papa D. Allen. I think I might have been about 13, 14 years old. And that's how I got locked.
Yeah, that'll lock you too. You get to hear war at a young age, and you say to yourself, "Oh my God, that's a whole nother world right there."
The music is classic. It's lifelong. It's eternal.
It's like a horn. That's like a horn player here in Tower of Power. If that don't move you, then you just can't be moved.
You just can't be moved.
So if you're a percussionist and you hear war and you're not feeling something, then I don't know what to say. I just say like, hey.
So Everett, did you ever play drums in high school with the marching band, anything like that?
I played trombone. I'll tell you, back then, I started at coming out of Vanderbilt. And then I went to Virginia Randolph, and we played trombone. And that was the thing about it. Kids, Lord, they need to bring music and put it back in the schools at those levels. I remember the teacher on a Friday, third grade, fourth grade, we'd have a traveling teacher come around, music teacher, and she would give us a little flutes, and it helped. It gave structure, it disciplined, it built confidence. Mr. G, I have to say how, I watched you work with these young kids. I saw a couple of brothers, young men.
You're talking about Yende Williams and his brother.
And they're all off the charts. I mean,
when he mentioned piano players, it's a young guy who's featured on the single I had out, Charles, that did really well. His name's Yende Williams, and he's exceptional. His brother, the drummer, is doing extremely well too there. So all the whole family basically plays African drum, and that's what another thing that makes it what ties them into you, Brother Kelsaw. That they definitely are African musicians.
Well, Mr. G, you and Charles, and I'll say that the family, you have such a great influence on your siblings, your kids, in the household. The influence that y'all give, that y'all present to us, that we see and we emulate. And I have to say, much respect and much pride. I love y'all for it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. We appreciate
that. Appreciate that. And it's been a pleasure to have you on today. I'm glad you were able to join us for this edition of Let's Talk Music. Mr. Everette Kelsaw, and of course, Mr. Bill McGee.
All right. God bless, my brother. Take care.
I'm doing a lot.
Okay.
All right now.